Hi, my name is Gil Robertson, president of the African American Film Critics Association. Today, we're thrilled to be talking with Simone Missick, the star, the EP of the exciting OWN series, All Rise. We're going to kick things off by introducing you to the AAFCA members who are on the call today, starting with Reggie Pounder in Chicago, Nancy Green in Baltimore, Maryland, Carolyn Hines in Toronto, Al McGee in South Florida, and Jill Monroe in Los Angeles. I'm going to let you guys do what you do so well, and I will see you on the other side.
Hey, girl. Carmichael. Oh, it's like old times.
Welcome back to the HOJ.
The roller coaster rides again.
This is huge. Congratulations.
I will not have my courtroom turned into a circus.
Rough day, huh, babe?
Please, I'm putting my life in your hands.
Are you planning to drop a bombshell and try?
You know, I'm gonna kill you!
You are both out of order. I want to see you in my chambers now.
There is something coming down the pike.
These election exposure vulnerabilities. This little war of ours is far from over.
We are not going anywhere.
Show them why you won.
My friends, remind me why I became a judge and why I belong here.
Go good.
Go good.
Great to talk to you today. So starting right off, the fan support for this show has been amazing, and it's part of the transition to OWN. Can you talk a little bit to us about what that was like, having the fans swell up and support the show, and then transitioning to OWN and stepping into a different sort of power this season?
So I think that with television being so here today, gone tomorrow, it's amazing to see our little show that could have such a devoted fan base that would actually write petitions and send tweets. And, you know, there was a part of me that thought, okay, this is going to happen for the immediate, blow that the show got canceled, but surely it's not going to continue. And it not only continued, but it ramped up for weeks and weeks until the show was revealed to be going over to OWN. And there is something to that. I think we all, as artists, want to make art that is important and impactful to people, whether it's, a powerful historical drama or a show like ours, which really kind of is dealing with the present, but also threads the line between the dramatic and the comedic and really kind of rides that line. And to know that we had such a huge bit of support from our fans was amazing. And then to also hear that Oprah as well felt passionately about our show, that it was telling the kind of stories that she wanted to see continue on OWN, which is a network that I think we all recognize for its Black excellence and its excellence in telling stories where women are centered, and also the Black experience in different parts of the country that aren't always featured in television, I think is important for me to be a part of that family now and to continue to tell stories about Los Angeles, but in a different way than having, say, a lawyer that is white or male being the center of the story. So it's been a blessing to be at OWN, to feel supported and to have their excitement behind the show, and to know that we are doing what our fans came on and fell in love with the show in the first season for, now in season 3.
Thank you.
Hello, Simone. I'm Al McGee with YETicket.com. Quick question. Did you have a boy or a girl?
On the show, Bailey is a girl. She's a little girl.
Okay.
And she's now 22 months on the show. And Robin is now a stay-at-home father. So he is fully enjoying being a girl dad, which is lovely to watch. I know I was certainly raised by a very strong Black father who stayed at home with me for the first few years of my life. And so I think it's really nice that on the show, we are able to showcase that kind of dynamic with two powerful people who are excellent at their jobs and their individual careers. And he decides to take a step back from that career in order to support her and in order to be a stay-at-home dad, which I think, you know, a lot of men do nowadays, which is beautiful. I was speaking with Christian Keys, who plays Robin this season. He's wonderful, but he was saying, you know, this character is teaching me a lot about the potential for marriage, because I never thought that it would be feasible to just stay at home and help take care of the kids. And so, you know, I think that that's important to represent those men around the world who do choose to do that, where it's smarter, it's the better decision for their family.
Oh man, thank you very much. But also your part as a female judge, how much research did you have to do? I know you've been a couple of years now with your show, but are you still researching this role about a female judge?
You know, I think at this point, I did as much research as I could in the beginning, and then you trust what the writers are tailoring, because I think it's partly what we see in the stories that we read in the media. I know this season specifically, we wanted to touch on the safety that surrounds our judges and the people who operate within our legal field. I know we are all familiar with the judge whose husband and son were both shot at her residence by an individual, and just the lack of safety that comes from people who work as judges, but then also the amount of threats that they get. And, you know, I think that our current stories are infused into Lola this season, as well as just what is it to be a Black woman in America at this time. But I think the groundwork was certainly something that we looked to lay in the first season with her professionally. And now that we're in season 3 and we're exploring more of her personal side, I don't have to do as much of that research on the judicial front.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nancy Green with Film Critique.
I'm Nancy.
And I just wanted to ask you, how do you prepare for this role? And also, I'm a big fan of Luke Cage and Misty Knight. So I wanted to know how this role and your preparation for this role compares to that one.
Oh, so the beautiful thing about, you know, I forget who said it. I think Samuel L. Jackson said, there's nothing more exciting than a working actor. And I had just come off of Luke Cage. I was working on Altered Carbon, and I got the call to come in and meet for this job. And within a span of 6 days, I went from getting the script to flying into audition, to flying back to go back to work, to finding out I got the job. And then the following Friday, I started the job. So there wasn't a ton of preparation. I did, however, get to think about the women that I know in my life who are strong and very successful in their careers within law enforcement. I have a really good friend who's a sheriff in LA. Now she's a sergeant after 3 years of working to get that position. I have an aunt who worked as a detective for over 30 years in DC. And so a lot of my characters, including Misty Knight, are infused with those women. And I also grew up with just a wonderful village of very capable, intelligent women in my life in Detroit. And so all of those people go into the preparation when I'm dealing with a character like this. And the beautiful thing about Misty Knight and Lola is that they both look at the legal system as something, or the judicial system or the criminal justice system as something that they can help, something that they can fix, something that they can make a difference in. Simone does it in her art. You know, I look at what kind of stories I can tell to try and change a narrative or try to explore a different segment of our country and our culture. But I think that these women do it on a very individual and personal level. And so the beautiful thing is that I got to go from one strong woman to another strong woman, but with Misty, there were a lot more weights being lifted. With Lola, I get to lean more into the comedic aspect of this woman, which is a lot more, it was a lot closer to who I am as a person. But that, I didn't have a ton of prep when it came to, I think, either job, really. I think with Misty, I got the job and within 2 weeks I was in New York. So you hope that the work that you do in life, the training that you do as an actor can help you step into these shoes, because TV work goes so fast. It's not like film where you get just a little bit more time.
Nice, thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Simone. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. So the thing that I am wondering about this season is the balancing act that Lola's going to have to do as a mother, because one thing the show has always done from the very beginning is to show how much challenges she faces as a judge, not only within the courtroom, but also behind the scenes in her office and dealing with the clerks and other lawyers and other judges. But now with season 3, she has the added weight, using the term of balances, of a baby, and her husband is going to be home full time, which is also going to bring up a lot of challenges, unique challenges that she's not familiar with. So can you just talk a bit about how Lola's going to be struggling with people trying to take her seat as a judge, and people who are going to be throwing obstacles at her to keeping that judgeship, and then also kind of like distracting her as a mother and as a wife and as a friend?
So, this season, similar to other seasons, Lola has people coming for her. I think a lot of people who are a little bit more liberal from the bench face a lot of challenges, especially in this country. We have so many judicial appointees that are conservative. And Lola is certainly a judge with a specific directive that she has for herself. And so the repercussions of the decisions and the cases that she's adjudicated in the last 2 seasons are definitely coming back up for her. She has made quite a few enemies, and we watch her trying to maintain her seat on the bench as well as her voice from the bench, which is, I think, difficult. I think it is a balancing act, because judges are an elected position that people have to make when it comes to, do you continue to do the work that you set out to do, or do you change in order to maintain your position? I think it's such an interesting thing in our political landscape as well, where people start out with one voice in the way that they would like to do their appointed position, and then based on the need to hold on to power, they shift. And so you watch Lola still maintaining, but dealing with it from all points within the courthouse, as well as, within the judge's court, behind the scenes, as well as in front in the court. And when it comes to motherhood, I think it, for her, is a constant pull of, am I doing enough? Am I present enough? Am I making the impact in my daughter's life? Am I missing these huge moments? And I think that what is really beautiful that we were able to explore in the first season is Lola's relationship with her mother. And it's a complicated one. Roxy, played by L. Scott Caldwell, was a woman who chose her career, who chose activism, who chose those things over being a very present mother. And that created a dynamic between she and Lola that Lola doesn't want to recreate in her relationship with Bailey. And I think that it's tough. You can't be everywhere. You can't be everyone to everyone. And, she definitely is struggling with that this season. And we see that becoming a source of conflict between she and Robin as well. That he is the primary, and she has a lot of opinions and ways in which she thinks that things should go, but she's not there every day. Or throughout the day. She's there every day, but not throughout the day. And I think that is what a lot of women have to deal with. You know, my mom certainly worked full time, and she worked from 8 to 5. And so our time together was important, and, you know, but I know that she had to deal with that tug. And I know women who deal with that pull, and it's certainly women who are excelling in their careers have to choose sometimes between starting a family. And I think that it's been great that on our show, Lola didn't plan to become a mother. This was not in her 5-year plan, might not have been in her 10-year. Being on the bench for her first full year and finding out that she's a mother, that was something that, you know, took a lot for her to work her mind around. And so we get to see her still dealing with those very real issues, both professionally and personally, which I think is just, you know, I can't say it enough. It's rich for me as an actor to be able to play with those dynamics, because they are realities.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, Simone. I'm Reggie Ponder, the real critic out of Chicago. And my wife and I, we watched this show together, and we watch it for a number of reasons. One is because she likes law kind of shows, and we watch those all the time. But I think the main reason we watch this one together is because of the strong Black couple and the strong Black love that we see. And we both think, by the way, that you guys are sexy as all get out. So while you might not want to speak to your personal sexiness, could you speak to the representation? Could you speak to the representation of this strong Black couple and Black love, and how you just see that playing out on this show and how important it is?
I think it's so important. I can't tell you just the discussions that we have behind the scenes. I am married to, you know, a strong Black man, and there are ways in which we know we have seen certain things play out in television where I know I go, I wouldn't, I don't know if I most certainly would. And so that is definitely when you have writers who come from different cultural backgrounds and, you know, don't necessarily understand those dynamics, and even directors. I definitely am the person standing in the gap to say, this is important. And the way that we show this is extremely important. I mean, down to details like, what side of the bed does he sleep on? You know, Christian, they asked, because up until this point, we really didn't see Lola at home in the bed. And this season, we see her at home a lot, which is beautiful. And they asked, you know, what side of the bed is he gonna sleep on? And Christian was like, the one closest to the door. And you see, you throw your hands up. It's that kind of specificity, though, that I think is so important for us culturally to see. It resonates with people. And it's not to say that we are a monolith, that, you know, all Black couples look like this, but I certainly am committed to making sure that what is presented on screen feels authentic and feels inspiring in some ways, and resonates with our viewers, and also shows that they're not perfect. You know, this season, we certainly go into the messiness of Lola and Robin's relationship, and Lola, and how her past is affecting her marriage. And I think that, you know, there's an argument that comes up in episode 9. And that episode is directed by Wilson Bethel, who plays Mark on the show. And he does an amazing job in this directorial, you know, debut. And the episode was written by one of our writers who started out as a writer's assistant. And this is her first episode. But neither of them are married to a Black man. And so this argument that happens, I said, we have to take the gloves off. And so for one of the takes, Christian and I just improv'd it. And it was the most like just rugged at a level 15. It felt real to me. It felt real to him. And I think it felt real to them, to the point where Wilson runs back from behind the camera. He's like, okay, this is great. Just lay off the F-bombs, because I don't know if we'll be able to get all of those in the show. But it was, important for us to really show just how it can be when emotions are high. You love a person, you know they're not going anywhere, but you have to get your point across. And we have several moments like that on the show within Lola and Robin's marriage that I think is important to see. I think there was at one point before I got cast, there was like a discussion of, would Robin be Black? And, I was like, yes, he will be. And, it's no secret that we have a different actor this season playing Robin. And there was never a question of whether he would change culturally, but the visual was a part of the discussion in some ways. And, we have another actor who's coming on this season as Lola's ex. And I'm it was important to me who those actors were and how they come across, because you want for them to meet her. And she is certainly strong in a lot of ways. And so I think that we are really trying to put that forward on screen.
Wow, you answered everything I wanted to know about that kind of relationship. And that's what really pulls us to the show. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hi, Simone. So kind of staying in that same area, when you get a new actor on, and being that you're also changing networks and you're exploring another side of Lola this season, her home life and that relationship, what was something that you were surprised or you were excited about the audience getting to dig another layer deeper to learn about Lola that they maybe hadn't in the first two seasons, especially in her relationship with Robin and how that blossomed out because of this particular circumstance that the show is in?
So I think that when Robin was first introduced in season 1, he was this FBI agent who, comes in, says what you got to say, walks out the door. And the actor Todd Williams did a beautiful job with that. But we felt like in season 2, we needed to show more of Robin's humor, his personality, their dynamic, what makes them like each other, what makes them love each other, how they could have a long distance marriage for so long and it work. And so he and I really worked on infusing that and stepping away from to me, CBS of, this is the archetype of this character in this relationship, and this is what we want to see, which is boring to me to play as an actor. And so Todd and I really laid the groundwork for that this season with Christian. He took that ball and he's running with it. He's a hilarious actor and he leans into the comedy, which is wonderful. But in these moments where Lola and Robin deal with some very tough issues in their marriage, he is right there. And I mean, I jokingly, in that same argument scene with, I was talking to Wilson and I said, I said to Christian, I think this argument is like, where do you think this argument is at? And he was like, oh, I think it's like a 7. And I said, a 7. Okay, well, I think it's like a 12. So then we go on set, and on the first take, Christian comes at me at a 25. And Wilson says, well, if that's Christian's 7, you don't want to see his 12. But I said, you know what, you're right, because there is just a reality and a richness that he brings to this that makes these moments very real for me as the actor playing opposite. And, that was important for me, bringing this same character with a new actor, but a new network over. We wanted for the audience to feel like we were still seeing the love between Robin and Lola and the chemistry between the two of them. But what I think is the thing that I'm most excited this season for the fans to see is their sexual relationship. We have always seen them be supportive and affectionate, but we get to see them sexy. We get to see them trying to find moments. We get to see them finding those moments in a way that we never explored on 2 seasons on CBS, which I think, says something. And yet I am thankful for the opportunity to say it on OWN with an audience that is going to receive it. I'm excited for them to see it. And I think it's important for married couples out there, as well as parents who are married, to see these 2 people be sexual and be romantic and be sensual. And I think that, in those stories and in those moments, I know the difference. I know how being on OWN makes these opportunities possible. And so it all feels like it's coming together at the right time, at the right place. And I know that our audience is going to enjoy it. I know it's also been tough for people. They're like, where's the old Robin? I didn't read that, press release. But I think that they definitely going to get used to it coming up.
Give them a little eye candy to seduce them and make them ready for it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Hey, this is Al McGee again. My question is, you mentioned the word input. Do you feel that actors now have a lot of input on the shows that they are on now than they had before? Because I remember before you wouldn't see actors' names on the producing credits and things like that. So do you feel you have some control and some say about your character and maybe some of the other characters too on the show?
Well, this season I am an executive producer. It's
Well, congratulations.
Thank you very much, Al. Thank you. And I certainly was operating like an executive producer in the first 2 seasons and wasn't getting paid for it. But I definitely had opinions about a lot of things for my character as well as other characters. But I feel like our showrunner Dee and our writers have always been receptive of our cast of characters. We have a core 7, and we are definitely artists in the truest sense, and we do not look to misrepresent these characters that we're playing. And we have actors who come from a lot of different cultural backgrounds. Jessica is Puerto Rican. It was important for her to play a Puerto Rican and not just a generic Latina. Lindsay Mendez is Mexican American. Ruthie Ann Miles is Korean American. Jay Alex and I are African American. And those the storylines that we have and the way that our characters have kind of been revealed to people have certainly blossomed. And I personally have always cared about how we do that. And my castmates care about how we do that. And I certainly feel like this season, especially being the 3rd season, everyone is unapologetically chiming in on, this isn't authentic. This is authentic. I wouldn't say that. This would happen. This would not happen. I know that, I think that unfortunately, when our show first started, like I said, everything is so fast. Everything moves so fast, right? So specifically, Sherry's characters, Asian American, her last name is Kansky. She's not married. We do not know where this last name came from. Was she adopted? Is she, was she divorced? Why is this Asian American woman's last name, I believe, Polish, or I'm not sure where Kansky comes from, but this season we see why. We explore what it is. There is a lot of detail being made about it, and Ruthie Ann coming from the theater where, you know, you might workshop a play, but pretty much the book is done. This being her first series regular role, had like, you know, little questions, but didn't necessarily feel empowered to say something. This season, she most certainly does. And me being the actor who has been her friend for the past 3 years, am also advocating for her. D. Harris Lawrence, as the showrunner, is certainly, her directive for her was to make sure that Ruthie's storyline got centered this season. And so we find out her origin story in a way, and we find out what, as Ruthie calls it, genre of Asian she is, and where the name comes from. And so for me, as an executive producer, working with creatives that are just as passionate about these characters, I feel like they have always been receptive to telling these people's stories authentically, but now more so. Because we have the space and opportunity. We're not just trying to build the world. Now we can go into who they are individually, and it's a beautiful thing.
Thank you very much. I'm excited about the new season, and I want to thank you for taking time with us. And that was a very beautiful answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask, with the changes of moving to OWN and you also being an executive producer, what are some of the things that you plan on, that you can tell us, that fans can look forward to in the next season with Lola in terms of her career, her friends, and facing her enemies?
So when I sat down with Dee, our showrunner, at the top of this season, before they put pen to paper, I had a list of things that I wanted to see for Lola and for our other characters. And, you know, now being an executive producer, I felt like, okay, she kind of might listen to me. The beautiful thing is, she and I were literally on par with everything that I wanted for Lola specifically. And I really wanted for her to be a little undone this season. I wanted to see her messy. I wanted to see her not make the right decisions at all times. The beautiful thing about Lola that I've loved is that I felt like she always made the right decision in my mind for how to operate professionally. And this season, personally, she makes a lot of wrong decisions. And that affects her friendships with Sherry. It affects her friendship with Rachel, played by Ryan Michelle Bethea. And it affects her marriage. And we are just now, we're shooting episode 14 right now. And we are just now seeing her trying to put those pieces back together. So over the course of this season, our fans get to see her make missteps. And I think that it's done in a way that isn't convenient. You know, this season specifically, I wanted her to have these kinds of dynamics, and we get to really see it, and in a way that, see, dogs barking, in a way that I don't know if it would have been explored in the same way on CBS. I think, you know, there's always this feeling of, okay, when are Mark and Lola going to get together? And that was something that we were adamant about not showcasing. But, you know, as shows go on and they're looking for storylines, they're like, all right, let's just jump ship and have her hook up with her best friend. And we said, you know, that is not where the dynamic is going to take us this season. And so it's really exciting. I'm spoiler alert, they're not hooking up. They're never hooking up. And so but you do get to see her, like I said, deal with someone from her past. And that is, it's rich, it's real, and it really affects every aspect of her relationships personally, which is great to see.
Very nice, very nice. Thank you.
I kind of want to go off of what you just said about the friendships and about Mark and Lola never getting together. I think that's amazing, because like their relationship is a great example of how you can have truly platonic relationships between men and women that can last years. And well, we as an audience can see all of the chemistry because like they do have a really good chemistry, but it still stays in a very specific pocket. But then I want to talk now about the female friendships as well, because earlier we talked about the balancing act that Lola's going to have to do as a judge and as a mother and everything behind the scenes. But one of the other things about this season is like she's losing her female friendships. You mentioned it a bit, but like all of the women are like kind of like converging onto their own paths, you know, like that, like Lisa is becoming an appellate judge. She's going into the appellate court system. And Rachel is at another firm, and Emily is going away, and then there's Lisa, but they're all kind of like going their own ways. And one of the things I've always loved about the show is how the female friendships are so foundational to the show itself, and also to Lola as a character. So talk a bit about how like she's gonna how them not being around her and not being the village of support that she needs and not the sisterhood is gonna affect her personally, because like that's such a big part of who she is as a judge as well, because she uses them to bounce information and opinions off of.
I'm so glad you noticed that. It feels very, what is interesting is that I feel as though the decisions and the personal mistakes or missteps that Lola makes this season are because she doesn't have that village there, you know, those women there to hold up the mirror, to hold her accountable in that way. She certainly professionally has kind of figured herself out in a lot of ways, but not having Lisa right down the hallway is a shift. I think that, you know, that triangle of Lola, Sherry, and Sarah in the courtroom, they don't have that. And so when there is a rift between she and Sherry, it is something that she carries home with her. It's something that, you know, professionally, she is really trying to figure out how to get back to that friendship, because it's not only a comfort, but something that she needs with she and Sherry. And certainly with Rachel being in DC, you know, trying to run the firm and figure things out remotely, not having that girlfriend there that has known you for 20 years to say, girl, you messing up, is why I think she makes a lot of the choices that she makes this season. And they are betrayals in some way to Rachel. And so it's yummy and it's messy. And, you know, I do think that I know I certainly need my sisterhood of friends to hold the mirror up and call me on my stuff. And Lola is not operating in that way this season. And her choices as a result really affect her life and the relationships that she has with the men in her life, which is interesting. Her dad is here a lot more this season, and Roxy is not here as much this or at all this season so far. And you get to see a dad, you know, weighing in on the choices that she's making. And it's different, and yet it's fun. I could just say it's just fun.
Ooh, I know the fans are gonna love the mess, because like one thing about the show, that one of the reasons they got it came out was because of the live tweets and like all of the social media attention. So I can't wait to see the reactions on Twitter for sure.
I think they're gonna drag Lola by her ponytail. Like I was just talking about this yesterday, and the women who work in the hair and makeup department was like, get ready, because they're gonna drag her up and down the street. Like I'm worried that the fans will not like me anymore because of Lola's choices.
They're gonna snatch her edges. So
they really, I mean, we gonna snatch the edges with these scripts, but they gonna snatch all the edges out my head based on these choices, which is, it's fun. You don't want anybody to be perfect, and hopefully I've made them believe in this character enough in the first 2 seasons that they at least take the ride. And they can disagree with her choices, but at least they stay on the show.
Great, thank you so much, and like congratulations on the 3rd season.
Thank you.
So Simone, I was gonna ask you about where is the fun, but you already just kind of tipped your hat to that. And so my other thing is that you have these tough issues to show in each one of your shows. So as a judge, you have to kind of like, oh, what's this side and what's that side? And that's one of the things that I like about the show. It does show both sides of that. How difficult, if at all, because some of these topics are difficult topics to address, how difficult at all are these topics for you as you go through them each episode?
So, I think some of them are to me a little cut and dry. They are. And then there are some where the thought process is a workaround. I think about the first episode where this young Black man is a child in the eyes of the law, according to Lola. He's 17 years old. And every day we see our young brothers and sisters get locked up for choices they make that are the choices of children. And they are certainly not viewed as children by police or by judges and lawyers. And the decision behind Lola's verdict to, in fact, deem that a 17-year-old is a 17-year-old, whether they turn 18 within a matter of 24 hours, he is a child, I think is something that I remember. I remember growing up in Detroit, and there was a young boy who was 14 years old, and he fired a gun from like a hill, and he killed somebody. He was a baby, and my mom was a social worker for 25 plus years in Detroit. And she said, Simone, that is a child, and children's brains aren't fully developed to know the gravity of their decisions. And that always stuck with me because they charged this child as an adult at 14 years old. And we see it happen every day with Black children and Black and brown children, but we see the opposite happen with white young men being charged with crimes as though they are children. They are infanticized or infanticized. And so some of these issues I think are difficult because I know the reality of it. I think that our show tries to present what we think should happen in a court. But the reality is we know that it doesn't happen every single day. And that's the difficult part. That's the heartbreaking part. That's the part that makes me feel like the stories that we tell and the way that we tell them are important to present something different to our audience that, on CBS was one particular type of demographic when we see who tunes into CBS shows. And now on OWN, it's a different demographic, or hopefully some of the same, but we're dealing with a different audience. You're almost preaching to the choir in some aspects. But I think that's the tough part, knowing that a lot of this show is hopeful, but it's not always realistic. But in some ways it is very realistic. We had an episode that just passed where a social media influencer accuses a famous athlete of sexual assault, and the case plays out in the media. And as a result, she loses the case. That happens every day with ordinary people. Women are oftentimes not believed, and it makes and men are not believed as victims of sexual assault, and it makes them hesitant to come forward. And so I think that for our show to try to tackle things like that head on and show the reality of it is, it's exciting to go to work, but it also is a constant reminder that as storytellers, we have a responsibility to try to change people's minds and open up their minds to what people deal with every day in courtrooms.
Thank you, Simone. My question was based on that first episode, in fact, about that young boy. So you must have been reading my mind. I just want to extend the congratulations again for this season. I can't wait to to get to that 14th episode that you're secretly filming and won't tell us all about. But it's not good if you're here and you're not going to tell us what's happening on the 14th episode.
Let me tell you, episode 10, baby. Episode 10 is it's the last of the block. You know, we're shooting 20 episodes, and so it's 2 blocks. And episode 10 is something. So you look forward to that one.
Oh, sure will. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Simone, thank you for your time today. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate you all. Thank you for the work that you do, being part of AAFCA. I appreciate you all. I think that I've always loved the AAFCA Awards for honoring Black excellence in television and film. And so I appreciate this collective of people sitting down with me today.
Well, we appreciate it. And we definitely want to see you and your husband at more and more and more shows, presenting, winning, everything we can think of.
Thank you so much. All right, you all take care.
Have a great day.
You too.
Bye, everyone.